Okay, Paula, welcome to Timelines, all the way from New Zealand.
Hi there. It's so good to be here
Uh,
across the other side of the world.
So, what time is it in New Zealand right now? In the
The
mid.
time is 20 past 12, the
Okay,
day ahead of you.
it's amazing how close we are time-wise. I'm in the Pacific, and I'm it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So,
Right.
but you're still a day ahead of us. I know that, and it's
Yeah,
always
yeah. New Zealand, and in fact, a place called Gisborne in New Zealand is the first city to see the sun. So when the new year turns over, that is the first place on the earth to see the sun.
and you live in Oakland, of course, right? The capital,
Auckland, yes.
Oakland. Okay,
Yeah,
and a long ways away from Reno. I mean, even though it's 4 hours, it's a long trip.
yeah, yeah, it is.
So with that, I'm going to ask you. I know you've had some interesting times in your life, but we're going to ask you right away a question: That's how does a person pull himself up and climb out of a dark, deep place?
It is such a good question, and it is a question, or it is something that I had to do for myself. I think we often think that has to come from outside of us. That it's the things that we acquire or the things that we get in our life that helps us dig ourselves out of a hole. Whereas it is an inside job, and I'm sure many of your listeners already know this, but it is actually doing the work on ourselves that we need to do to become the person we need to become to change the world in the way we want it to change.
Okay, very good. So let's talk about a little bit of background. How you came out? You had some tough times. You've gone back and forth, been successful in business.
Mm.
What did you do personally to survive and
Oh,
tell the listener a
you
little bit
know,
about yourself?
okay. So when I was sent to boarding school, I was from a farm in New Zealand. So I was sent to boarding school. My parents clearly thought they were doing the right thing at a very young age, at 11. And I never, and that was the old fashioned kind of boarding schools where you were sort of gone. And I never lived at home from then. In my mid teens, I was raped. And I didn't even have the dialogue to say what it was then. All I did was just take a whole lot of messaging from that situation and turn it into self hate, really. Um, and so most of my late teens and my 20s was plagued by a decline into alcohol and serious drug use. I was injecting heroin by the time I was 25. Um, but at the same time, I was also had this burning desire for success. So I was kind of living this crazy double life. I had my first business when I was 20 years old. And so on one hand, I was creating all of these amazing things, and on the other hand, I was just cutting myself off at the knees. And it was kind of pretty touch and go there for a number of years. I call them now, when I look back to my dark days, where I think it was just the grace of God that kept me on this planet. But something happened in my late 20s where I really made the decision that I wanted to live. I wanted to live more than I wanted to die. And I had love around me. I had got to that place, and I did the work. I put myself through rehab, and I cleaned myself up physically. And so my body was well, and I dealt with, the addictions largely, but my head and my heart still needed a lot of work. And so I really spent the next years doing that work, learning how to focus on what I wanted, not focus on what I didn't want. And I spent hundreds of hours reading books, sitting at the feet of personal development coaches. And then, as fate would have it, one of the businesses that I was working with actually required me to develop other people, to grow people. And so I started taking all of this knowledge that I had and started working with others one on one at first. And then I got a lot of traction with that, and I became a trainer and a speaker, and I ended up speaking in front of hundreds and thousands of people. So it was an incredible journey of healing myself and then being able to pass that on to help other people.
That's good. So that leads us on to what do you do now? What is your job?
So then 2 years ago, I was like, gosh, I'm having this incredible impact on people around me. I'm helping them catch sight of their own potential. How can I take this understanding, this realization that everything comes down to how we believe in ourselves? How can I then create that and take it to the world? And so for the last 2 years, we have built a platform called Belief School, which is an online interactive program which really takes people through the steps that helps them see their own greatness. They're online interactive modules, and Belief School is an accumulate of everything I have done over the years and everything that I've taught. And I've said many times, if I had been exposed to the principles of Belief School when I was in my late teens, I would have made an awful lot of different decisions.
Well, the school is at beliefschool.com, which I love your domain.
Yeah.
You got a nice web page. Look like the web page is working for you.
Yeah.
And if I go in the front here, I see it says Belief School, and that is the link to your school, right?
That's to the
My
to
Belief
the school.
School.
Yeah.
So wow, how long have you had the school up?
Well,
Wow.
we piloted it first with live focus groups last year, and then we went to an online pilot phase, and that ran for a couple of months. And now we've physically been online for only a couple of weeks. So it's at a really exciting
Oh,
time. There's
very
some
good.
really interesting things happening. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, we had a little bit of communications problem with our system here, so I'm catching up. But I love your
Yeah.
site. I'm looking at the nav now. Tell us? Let's find out about your school and how you put it together and how you created it. A lot of listeners want to know how they could create things like you've created. You've had a unique background, and they can't really recreate that. But the mechanics. How did you go about building this website and this page and putting it together? Because that's a lot of work. I know.
It was a huge learning curve, honestly. And one of the philosophies that I have in my life is I'm a big fan of saying yes. I believe when we sort of step up to meet life with courage and are prepared to learn and be open to mentors. And so that's what Belief School's process has been. I had a vision. So anyone who has it is having that vision. What do I want to create? What is the service? What is the value I'm going to give? And then I just started asking, can you help me? How do I do this? And I've collected the most extraordinary group of people around me who have become part of that vision. Something I read very recently, which is such a great thing, I think, for people who are creative, who are building something, is that creativity, when we're right in the middle of it, which is a little bit where I am now, is I have this vision and we've created this thing, but we still can't see the exact path, is you have to have the courage to stay with that. You will have experienced it with what you're creating, and just keep, focusing on the here and now. What is it we're trying to achieve? And then it will become clearer and clearer. This is my fourth startup business. All of them have been
Oh,
successful.
very good.
And yeah, my first one was just 21 years old. It was a bicycle couriering company, which I sold 12 months later for a great profit. But it was all about having that vision and passion, and then creating the right people around me and being prepared to take advice. Yeah.
I think you just gave out the magic clue there, getting the right people around you and take advice. But if you have to take the advice from the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know it's a beautiful site. I'm looking at your site right now. In fact, you don't know this, but on Saturday on WP-Tonic, one of the second top WordPress shows in iTunes, we actually review about 2 or 3 sites. We'll probably review this site. I'll look at it.
Oh, yay.
So
That's fantastic.
it's really nice. So you've got 8 modules. We're looking at that. How long did it create all these modules? How long did it take you to make this?
Well, the thing is, because the modules were actually born out of real, 10,000 hours with people. So the modules were developed and tested over and over. And so when I sat down to write Belief School, because I wrote the whole program, that took me about probably 10 weeks. And it really, from that point, it's just been a matter of building it and testing it and building it. And I'm sure we've got such big vision. My great passion is to produce Belief School for teens. Because I think back to my years, and if I had been able to do Belief School when I was 16, the difference that would have had, made in my life would have been incredible. And the thing about Belief School, and where my passion truly lies with this, and I wish the whole world could do it because it creates a ripple effect, is that it's impossible to not feel good about yourself. It's literally impossible to go through the modules and not feel a sense of who you are and what you have around you. It really is a gift.
I'll tell you what you've done. I know they're talking about the school, but what you've done mechanically and with your system is what we call paper perfect, or just perfect, because I just Googled you for the first time. I mean, like I said, a little bit of connection. You have high SEO. Your name came right up. You got a great domain and an easy to remember school. I mean, Belief School, and the Belief is great. If you when you come to Reno, you'll see we have this big sign that says Believe. Yeah. And we have a lot of artists here we're in the east side of Sierras, and we make these big sculptures and systems. It's all out of metal, but it's gorgeous. I'll get a picture of it to you. But you've got your Facebook, you've got everything connected. and I think you're gonna get like a top-notch rating on this Saturday show with this
Oh,
page.
fantastic. Thank you. That is such wonderful feedback because I must admit, I'm sort of in here just we're trying to make it work. And,
Um,
yeah, so that's wonderful
I
feedback.
I personally like it because it's soft, it's not intrusive, and I don't see the pop-ups popping me at or the.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could have a
Well,
welcome
I'm
date.
hoping, we're getting quite, pretty high traction on our Facebook page, which is where I
Hmm.
hang out the most, and I'll always interact personally. And, we really are talking to predominantly women, 25 to 45, 50-year-old women and they're so like me, and so many of us are like going, okay, how do I, what's missing? I'm restless. Why am I not achieving what I want to achieve? What's going on here? And it's so much, it's that programming that we have, that negative chatter, and we address all of those things. It's really learning to define. It doesn't mean hard things don't arise. They do for all of us. Life is not a straight line. It's just learning the tools and the skills to navigate them.
Very, very good. So with that, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back with your life and success principles and a little bit more about your school and background.
Okay, great.
I have a little bit of quiet there, so I know where to make the cut. I can't mark this, but you
Yeah.
will see it on YouTube if we put up the raw YouTube, unless my daughter edits. My 16-year-old daughter, that's her
Okay.
job to edit. But
Yeah.
the main thing's the podcast. The podcast really is the main tool that people listen to.
Right.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I honestly, I just pulled everything up, and I saw your web page or your Facebook had very high SEO too.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got some
Great.
good people around you. You've done well.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think it's actually we've got some good content, and that content is
Yeah.
giving us that traction. Is that,
Well, that's you,
you
the
know,
content.
yeah, yeah.
Do you
But
blog
that's great.
too?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that site, www, my blog
Yeah,
is
the
in there.
first
I've
one.
just
Yeah.
released a blog
There's the
today, but I
blog. Yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah. There's the blog. I'm pulling it
yeah,
up. Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's nice. Yeah, you could
That's
someday you could easily add a little podcast just to figure it out.
Oh, look, absolutely. And even Periscope is something.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I know we're not recording, but I've got chooks
Actually,
out the
we are
back.
recording. We are recording. Remember, it's on
Okay.
mute, but we're not
I
recording for
think
the podcast.
I think my dog might be in my chook house.
Okay.
I can hear my chooks going crazy. So I wondered
Do you
if
want?
you could hear them on the
No, we
podcast.
can't
But
hear
no.
anything. It's good.
Okay,
And by the way,
great.
you have a new mic and a good computer. You have a I forgot what type of computer, so I can tell folks. But it's doing pretty well, just talking through the speaker.
Great.
Very
Yes.
good. So
Okay.
we'll come back now. Sorry about the
Yeah.
little deviation there. That was good. Okay, quiet for a second.
All right.
Um,
Ah, good fun.
yeah. It's more fun on Blab, but Blab's not working well.
Okay.
Coming back off the break, we've got
Yeah.
Paula, and she's going to go into her life and success principles. And we were talking a little bit on the break. If you want to watch the YouTube version on the website at timelinesofsuccess.com or timelinesnetcast.com, you can see what we're talking about. But on the podcast, we're going to go right into her life and success principles. So the first one is celebrate all that we are. What does that mean to you?
This is a big defining principle for me personally, and what Believe School is all about is I strongly believe in celebrating what I call our broken bits. And this is why you've heard me, quite openly talk about heroin use and the things that have happened in my life, because I believe it is all of our life's experiences that make us unique and empathetic. And when we start trying to gloss that over, which is a real danger in this social media world, to just want to present the glossy version, we're actually doing ourselves and the people around us a disservice. It is, when we are prepared to actually just say, well, we don't always show up perfectly. Gosh, I've made plenty of mistakes. And when we're actually just prepared to own them and take responsibility and be like, well, we all come from a place where most of us are trying to do the right thing, and I really, really believe that. And then we allow other people to be real around us, and that's where the connection and the richness comes from. So it's, yeah, celebrating our broken bits. It is one of my favorite phrases.
Very good. Next one is believe. And I know there's a lot more than just believe there.
Yeah. Uh, we touched a little bit on this when we were speaking earlier, but those beliefs, and I'm not a psychologist, I don't have degrees in this, I just have a really strong sense and hundreds of hours in this arena. But our beliefs define the choices that we make. And we've really got to start becoming aware of what those beliefs are. Because of my sexual assault, I had a belief that I was invisible. I created that for me, that I was invisible, that what I said or did didn't matter. And so I spent a lot of time rebelling and being very noisy, trying to be visible. And it still defines a lot of the choices I make. I'm looking for that recognition and so on. And so when we start to understand those beliefs, we can hold beliefs around money, around success. I'm sorry, that just came up there. Around success. They really define those choices that we make. And so once we understand them, then we can start creating new evidence for ourselves. And that is what I've discovered or believe, that the only way we change those beliefs is by creating new evidence. And that requires action.
Okay, action, and not procrastination.
No. And that action we have to do in the face of fear, which does bring us to that third principle we discussed, which was vulnerability and courage. Because when we're prepared to be vulnerable, when we're prepared to actually go, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here, I'm uncomfortable, and I'm right out there and I'm feeling very exposed, but we do that in a really honest, not reactive way. When we're prepared to be vulnerable and have the courage to step through that, or have the courage to ask for help, we get a sense of who we are. We really get to see what our potential is. And we light this path for others. To me, it is a core leadership skill, vulnerability and courage. It's super important in creating the life we want.
So vulnerability and courage, that's the second, that's the vulnerability and courage following belief. Mm-hmm. So vulnerability, what's a little bit more about vulnerability? What is that? How does a person become vulnerable? What does that do for them?
Vulnerability, it's not that, I don't necessarily see it as that needy. It's actually just being prepared to stand in our true authentic self and say, well, this is who I am, this is how I feel. And it's not how I feel and I'm trying to manipulate you, or how I feel and I'm trying to, this is just how I feel. I'm feeling this. And once we really start to get an understanding that our thoughts are not us, and that we have some control over this. I mean, our thoughts are this kind of co-pilot we have that narrates everything we're doing in our life. Once we really get a sense of, that who we are and this is my authentic self, then we are able to move anywhere from that, because we're not in a victim state. Do you know, it's moving out of that place of feeling like we're a victim to life.
Now, I've heard that in a lot of very successful people. They say, take responsibility for your own actions and what you do. Yeah. I mean, it sounds similar.
I've written a blog there which says it's called the seductive state of victim. It's a very seductive place to go. And we can be little victim, oh, I'm too tired. Or we can be big victim. Like I had a big victim story, and I could parade that around in front of me and get away with all sorts of terrible behavior. Because I had this horrific story, but it didn't serve me. It didn't create the life I wanted. The moment I actually went, do you know what, that happened and it meant nothing. It actually meant nothing. Then I was able to move past it.
Very good. Now, something else that you do, those are your three basics. You go out and speak. That's your primary business now, is your beautiful website and your product. But you go and speak, and that's probably how you do a lot of your, I guess, lead generation, how you get to know people, right? Speaking. Where do you speak?
Well, I've predominantly I've in Auckland and around New Zealand, and I've had a couple of gigs offshore and so on. But I've worked with small groups, 15, 20, training and so on, and then those groups. I've worked with other events in larger groups. We're just about to do our first online coach program. I'm not sure when will this go to air? What date?
Normally, I used to go up like tonight.
Right.
But it'll probably be early next week. When do you need it?
Okay, so we've still got time. From the 11th of April, we're actually starting a very special online coached program. You can go to my.beliefschool.com, and I'm working with a small group of people, and we're going to actually do an 8-week coached program online with the Belief School principles, but actually working with me. And so it's really a great program for people who need a little bit more accountability, and people who really want to understand why they're making the choices they're making and then create a difference. So it's really excited to be able to take that and then reach more people through that.
So this will probably be up Tuesday of next week. I don't know what day that is, but whatever Tuesday of next week is.
Yeah.
So they're very good.
Yeah.
In the past,
Read my calendar.
sometimes
Yeah.
I'm really pleased because I try to put them up the same day, same night. We edit. It's kind
Right.
of neat. But we found it's
Wow.
actually, we're delaying right now because of building our own schools and working on some products and sort of
Yeah.
changing. We talked earlier about how we're changing the feed. We play around with this RSS feed. We have 4 of them. And we
Yeah.
play game. We test stuff. So, but actually, we're
Fantastic.
testing it now. You'll actually get more exposure through this new
Yeah.
test.
It's
But
fan, and it's a beautiful thing about this medium, isn't it?
yeah,
It's direct marketing on air, so
what I
great.
really like is I've got horizontal, horizontal vertical marketing. I've got about 100 people who
Mm.
would fit this discussion that we'll email us out to. That they're broken down into different. They talk about avatars and personalities. Well, these are mostly women,
Yeah.
and maybe a little older, and
Yeah.
we'll mail this out to them. So
And I would love to talk with them personally, and that is my true passion, is working with people and helping them. Because I believe, because of my history, I believe in everyone. I believe that everyone has what they need,
yeah.
and that's my ability, is to help them see that in themselves.
That's very
So
good.
yeah,
So we enjoy doing this. It's a process. I've been podcasting for a couple of years and we building our list, and but
on you.
this is a broad base, but it fits just the right people. And even though it's not a lot of people we email to, it's still the key people, the people.
Oh, that is an awesome. I love that kind of just very
Yeah,
personal, narrow, caring about people.
yeah,
And that's the ripple effect. That's what we're doing. We're creating that ripple effect in this crazy world that can often be
yeah,
so negative. We're the other side of that.
yeah. So I
It
find,
really matters.
yeah, it's interesting. So very, very good. So with that, we're going to go a quick
Yes.
break and we'll finish
Yeah.
up the podcast and we'll
Okay.
try blab for a couple seconds.
Okay. I'm just going to run out the door.
Yeah, take a break. You take a break. That's
That's
fine. Take
no,
as long
there's
as you
just a
want.
door slamming out the back there, and I just need
Okay,
to.
no rush.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk.
Okay.
Hey, this is Bill. I'm leaving this up for instead of in case it doesn't get edited on the YouTube. But with Blab, we would just turn this off right now and pause it. But we're using Skype, and it's better in Skype just to continue on with the recording for sound and quality, and then edit the podcast. So for those who are in the new media school and studying, you can use this for example. This is about Skype, and Skype is relatively old. This is older technology we use in podcasts, but it gives us very good sound. And it's really easy to edit, though. We'll have 2 waves, and the sound will come out better than Blab, but we'll try Blab. Okay, Paula, before we go
Hey.
on, I do want to ask you, is there anything you would
Yep.
like me to ask you for one last question? I didn't ask.
No, you've actually done a fantastic job of allowing me to, I've really, do you know what I love about what you do? Is that you just allow everything to be so authentic. It's like, this is who we are. We're having a chat, and there's not this kind of homogenization of it. It's fantastic. I love it.
Well, I appreciate that. It's everything we experiment. I'm experimenting all the time, and I enjoy it, and it's getting better. But it's really fun. It's just a podcast. You don't have to have hundreds and hundreds of people, especially when you're emailing out. Just you get to the right people. 50 people is a lot, though we have a lot more than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
But but it's broad based. Who knows? Those are downloads. Who knows if a download's
Yeah.
a download? But
Who they get shared with, and,
right.
and what we do. I agree.
On
It's,
iTunes.
yeah.
But when I email and I get comments back, it's nice. So Paula,
Nice.
take a break, and we'll come to your last section. Okay, Paula, we're coming off on the last section, and the first thing we want to know is how does the listener find you, get a hold of you?
Right. So definitely www.beliefschool.com. That takes you to my main blog site. Within there, you'll see a button which then takes you through to the school, where you can get all of the information about the programs we have available. The other place is I hang out most on Facebook. We're on all the social media platforms, but really if you want to interact with me, that is where I will always be myself. I will always be answering and chatting. Yeah.
Okay, very, very good. And the other thing is we always like to ask a couple other specific questions, but how can the listener help you?
Oh, do you know what? Do Belief School for the simple reason that it will make you happier, and it will help you feel good about yourself, and then give it to someone else. That is the gift, is that as everyone does this, if we share that, then we create this world of, where people are feeling better about themselves. I work with a beautiful doctor here. I know her very well, Dr. Libby Weaver, and she talks about the ripple effect she creates with good health. As she believes when people are healthier, they're happier, and then they pass that on. And, that's what we do.
Sounds like we do talk about health for a while, but we'll hold off on that.
Yeah,
For the last
yeah.
question, you look
Another
healthy,
podcast.
look like you're
Yeah,
healthy and you work out and eat right, but you have two boys up there. So I'm going to ask you kind
yeah,
of a different kind of question. What's their
yeah.
favorite food and where do they like to go eat?
Oh, well, I'll tell you their names first because this will surprise you. Their names are Jet and Rush, um, which was a bit crazy. They are 11 and 12 years old. What do they like to eat? Oh, well, we've just had Easter, but my youngest Rush is a crazy veggie eater, so he's fantastic. He loves eating raw veggies and so on. But they're at that stage. They love their chocolates. Jet,
Oh,
my older boy, loves whitebait fritters. I don't know if you have whitebait over there.
no,
Do you have
I've heard of
whitebait?
it, but we don't have
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah, no,
fritters,
they're a New Zealand delicacy.
yeah, I've heard of it. I think everyone loves chocolate too. I still love chocolate.
Yes, yes.
Well,
But he's a crazy little soccer player and or football player. Sorry, you call it
yeah, yeah,
soccer in
yeah.
the US, and the younger one plays hockey. So
Oh,
yeah,
hockey, really?
yeah, not ice hockey. This is
Okay.
field
Field
hockey.
hockey.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
we don't have ice here.
Even in the southern island, you don't have ice?
Oh, there's a few ice hockey rings, but it's
Yeah.
not a sport. You would have
Yeah.
to go a long way to find an ice hockey team.
My wife's family, four brothers and her, and they're all hockey players. Even my wife, she's small, but she's a hockey player.
Is she? Awesome.
From
No,
Boston.
we're all rugby mad here, of course. So
Yeah.
my boys don't play rugby, but you must have heard about New Zealand's fame on the rugby
Oh,
field.
absolutely. And I played club rugby and when I was in
Oh,
school,
wow.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I was at
yeah.
West Point, so we do a lot of interesting type
Yeah.
European type sports too.
Oh,
So very
fantastic.
good, very good. With that, we'll finish up, and I would like to go to Blab for a few minutes to show you Blab, and we'll talk through that. I don't know how much time you have, but we'll cut off the recording here.
Yep.
Say bye,
Great.
everybody out
Okay.
there,
See you.
and see you over in
Bye.
Blab.
Yeah.
And by the way, that Blab will be on the website, which is timelines at timelinesofsuccess.com, or you can go to timelinesnetcast.com.